Imagine a life shaped by pain, yet bursting with color. A girl who defied destiny and turned tragedy into timeless art. Frida Kahlo, a name that echoes through history, not just for her paintings, but for her resilience, passion, and defiant spirit. But how did she become the icon we know today? To understand Frida, we must go back to the very beginning. Chapter 1. Early Life of a Legend. On a summer morning, July 6, 1907, in the vibrant town of Coyoacán, Mexico, a girl was born in a house painted a striking shade of blue. Her name? Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo y Calderón. But history would remember her simply as Frida Kahlo. Her father, Guillermo Kahlo, was a German-born photographer, meticulous and artistic. Her mother, Matilda Calderón, was a devout and traditional Mexican woman. Together, they raised Frida in La Casa Azul, the Blue House, where her journey as an artist would one day begin. Frida's childhood was far from easy. At just 6 years old, she contracted polio, a disease that left her right leg thinner than the other. The children at school called her peg leg, but Frida was never one to be defeated. Instead of hiding, she covered her leg with long skirts and walked with unshakable confidence. Despite the illness, she was a fiery, mischievous child, curious about everything, eager to learn, and fiercely independent. She was especially close to her father, who encouraged her to see the world through a unique lens. While other girls were expected to be delicate and obedient, Frida was out climbing trees, playing soccer, and challenging the norms of her time. At 18, Frida's life took a devastating turn. She had dreams of becoming a doctor, but fate had other plans. On September 17, 1925, while returning home from school, Frida boarded a bus that would never reach its destination. A streetcar collided with it, shattering Frida's body. A metal handrail pierced through her abdomen and spine. She suffered fractures in her ribs, legs, collarbone. Her entire world changed in an instant. Most people would have given up, but Frida? She found a new purpose. Bedridden for months, she turned to painting, her only escape from the unbearable pain. Her mother installed a mirror above her bed, and with a brush in hand, she began painting the only subject she knew best, herself. This was the moment Frida Kahlo, the artist, was born. Chapter 2. Frida and Diego, a love like no other. Imagine meeting someone who would change your life forever. Someone whose presence would ignite passion, pain, and an unbreakable bond. For Frida Kahlo, that person was Diego Rivera. Their love story was anything but ordinary. It was raw, turbulent, and as colorful as Frida's paintings. But how did it all begin? How did Frida, a young aspiring artist, cross paths with the man who would become both her greatest love and her greatest heartbreak? To understand their connection, we need to rewind to 1922. Frida Kahlo was just 15 years old, a bright, rebellious student at the National Preparatory School in Mexico City. Diego Rivera, on the other hand, was already a famous painter in his late 30s, known for his grand murals and revolutionary ideals. At that time, Frida was just another student watching him work. She would often observe him as he painted the school's auditorium walls, but their worlds were still far apart. Fast forward to 1925. After a near-fatal bus accident left Frida Kahlo in excruciating pain and confined to bed, she found solace in painting. Art became her escape, her therapy, her way of understanding the world. But Frida didn't just want to paint. She wanted to be great. And for that, she needed guidance. So, in 1928, she made a bold decision. With a few of her best paintings in hand, she approached the one man she believed could give her an honest critique, Diego Rivera. When Diego first looked at Frida's paintings, he wasn't just impressed, he was captivated. Her art wasn't like anything he had seen before. It was raw, deeply personal, filled with pain and surreal symbolism. Diego saw something extraordinary in her work. But it wasn't just the paintings that caught his attention. Frida herself was magnetic. Her confidence, her wit, her intensity. He was drawn to her like a moth to a flame. Despite their 20-year age gap, Frida and Diego quickly became inseparable. Their relationship was electric, filled with deep conversations, laughter, and an undeniable artistic connection. Diego was a larger-than-life figure, and Frida? She was a force of nature. Together, they were unstoppable. By 1929, their whirlwind romance led to marriage. Frida's mother disapproved, calling their union a marriage between an elephant and a dove. Diego, the towering, heavy-set muralist, and Frida, the delicate yet fierce artist. But Frida didn't care. She was in love, and she believed in their shared destiny. However, love stories like theirs are never simple. Diego was infamous for his infidelities, and Frida, despite her devotion, was no stranger to heartbreak. Their love was passionate, yet volatile, filled with fights, betrayals, and intense reunions. Frida once wrote, "There have been two great accidents in my life. One was the bus crash, the other was Diego. Yet, no matter how much pain they caused each other, they couldn't walk away. Their love was too intense, too consuming." Frida's art flourished in this emotional storm. The more she loved, the more she hurt, and the more she painted. Their love was unlike any other, a bond built on admiration, creativity, and chaos. But this was only the beginning. Frida's journey with Diego would take her through some of the highest highs and the lowest lows of her life. Chapter 3: Frida Kahlo's Visual Language, an Artistic Analysis. The Two Fridas, 1939. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, but instead of one reflection staring back at you, there are two versions of yourself, connected yet divided. That's exactly the feeling Frida Kahlo captured in one of her most iconic and emotionally charged paintings, The Two Fridas. This is not just a self-portrait. It's a raw, vulnerable exploration of identity, love, and pain. At first glance, we see two Fridas sitting side by side, their hands intertwined, their hearts exposed. But look closer, and the contrast between them tells a deeper story. One Frida wears a white Victorian-style dress, delicate, pristine, almost ghostly. This is the European Frida, the one shaped by her German father, the one society expected her to be. The other Frida, in a vibrant Tehuana dress, represents her deep Mexican heritage, the part of her that felt most authentic, most alive. But there's something else. The Frida in white has an exposed, bleeding heart, with a severed artery dripping onto her lap. The other, dressed in traditional Mexican clothing, has a strong, beating heart, her vein connected to a small portrait of Diego Rivera. This painting was created in 1939, the same year Frida's marriage to Diego ended in divorce. It was a time of immense emotional turmoil, and the pain of their separation bleeds, quite literally, onto the canvas. She once said that the two Fridas represents the Frida Diego loved and the Frida he rejected. The heart of the Frida he left behind is shattered, struggling to survive without him. But this painting is about more than heartbreak. It's about identity, being torn between two cultures, two versions of oneself, never fully belonging to either. The stormy sky in the background mirrors this emotional chaos, reinforcing the idea that this isn't just an image. It's an internal battle made visible. Kahlo masterfully uses surrealism, though she always denied being a surrealist. "I paint my own reality," she once said, and that's exactly what this is. Her reality, her pain, her truth, laid bare for the world to see. The vein connecting both figures suggests that, no matter how different they appear, they are still the same person, forever linked. But here's the question. Is the Two Fridas just a portrait of heartbreak, or is it a declaration of strength? Yes, one Frida is bleeding, but she still holds her own hand. She is still alive, still enduring, and in that, there is resilience. So, what do you see when you look at the Two Fridas? A woman destroyed by love? A woman finding herself? Or something even more profound? Henry Ford Hospital, 1932. Imagine waking up in a cold, sterile hospital room. The pain is unbearable. The grief? Even worse. You reach out, but there's no one there to comfort you. You're alone, completely exposed, drowning in sorrow. This is exactly what Frida Kahlo captures in Henry Ford Hospital, one of her most devastating and personal paintings. It's not just a self-portrait, it's a visual diary of her deepest agony, painted in 1932 after she suffered a tragic miscarriage in Detroit. At first glance, the scene is brutal. Frida lies on a blood-soaked hospital bed, her body weak, vulnerable, naked except for a thin white sheet that barely covers her. Her face is filled with quiet despair. There are no dramatic screams, no exaggerated expressions, just the silent, overwhelming pain of loss. But the most haunting part? 6 long, umbilical-like cords extend from her body, each connecting to a different object, revealing the unbearable weight of her suffering. One of these objects is a tiny, lifeless fetus, the baby she lost, the child she so desperately wanted. She even gave him a name, Diego, a tribute to her husband, Diego Rivera. This baby was supposed to be their future, a new life, a new beginning. But instead, it became another cruel chapter in Frida's painful journey. Another cord connects her to a snail, an eerie representation of the slow, agonizing nature of her miscarriage. There's also a medical instrument, cold and impersonal, symbolizing the clinical detachment of doctors who saw her as just another patient, not a grieving woman. A mechanical pelvis, stiff and unyielding, reminds us of the lifelong damage she suffered in her accident as a teenager, an accident that made pregnancy nearly impossible for her. A wilted flower, once full of life, now drooping, represents her shattered femininity, her lost dreams of motherhood. And finally, a grotesque anatomical model of the female reproductive system dangles from the final cord, a chilling symbol of her body betraying her, of a womb that could not sustain the life she longed for. Unlike many of her other paintings, Henry Ford Hospital takes place in a vast, empty landscape, a desolate, industrial wasteland, far from the warmth of her beloved Mexico. The smokestacks of Detroit loom in the background, cold and unfeeling, emphasizing her isolation in a foreign land, where she felt lost, misunderstood, and powerless. This painting is raw. It's uncomfortable. It's not meant to be beautiful. It's meant to be honest. Frida refused to hide her pain, to cover it up with romanticized tragedy. Instead, she painted her grief exactly as it was, bloody, lonely, and inescapable. But beyond the sorrow, Henry Ford Hospital is a testament to Frida's courage. She took an experience that most would hide in shame and turned it into art. She showed the world that pain, no matter how personal, deserves to be seen, acknowledged, and understood. So, what do you feel when you look at Henry Ford Hospital? Do you see despair, strength, or both? The Broken Column, 1944. Frida Kahlo's The Broken Column is not just a painting. It's a raw, unfiltered look at suffering, resilience, and survival. Painted in 1944, this self-portrait emerged from one of the most painful periods of her life. After undergoing yet another failed spinal surgery, she was forced to wear a heavy steel corset to keep her body upright. This painting became her way of confronting her agony, translating her invisible pain into something the world could see. At the center of the canvas, Frida stands alone. Her body is torn open, revealing a fractured column in place of her spine. Unstable, crumbling, barely holding her together. Her torso, her arms, even her face are punctured with nails, a direct representation of the constant physical pain she endured. Yet despite this, she remains standing. Her gaze is steady, unflinching. There is suffering, but there is also defiance. The background is barren, cracked, and desolate, mirroring the isolation and despair she often felt. Unlike some of her other works, where Mexican culture and surrealist elements play a role, The Broken Column strips everything down to the most direct, personal truth. There are no distractions, no metaphors wrapped in folklore, just Frida, her pain, and the brutal reality of her existence. But even in this moment of vulnerability, there is strength. The tears on her face do not diminish her power, they emphasize it. The steel corset may restrict her, but it also holds her together, just as her willpower has done for years. She does not collapse, despite the weight of her suffering. This painting is more than a reflection of pain. It's a declaration of endurance. Frida Kahlo was not just documenting her struggles. She was proving that she could survive them. Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird, 1940. Frida Kahlo's Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird is a powerful exploration of pain, identity, and resilience. This self-portrait vividly conveys both Frida's physical and emotional suffering, making it one of her most striking works. At the center of the painting is Frida herself. Her gaze is direct and intense, conveying both strength and melancholy. The depth in her eyes reflects the complexity of her inner world. What immediately draws attention, however, is the thorn necklace she wears. The thorns pressing tightly around her neck symbolize the constant pain she endured, both physical and emotional. Throughout her life, Frida faced numerous surgeries and chronic pain, much of it stemming from a traumatic bus accident. The thorns here serve as a potent visual metaphor for her unrelenting suffering. Hanging from the necklace is a hummingbird. In Mexican folklore, the hummingbird represents love, beauty, and resilience. However, Frida presents the bird as lifeless, hanging from the necklace by a string. This haunting image creates a tension between life and death, beauty and suffering, and reinforces the deep emotional conflict that runs through much of Frida's work. The bird's lifelessness, in stark contrast to the vibrant symbolism typically associated with hummingbirds, amplifies the sense of tragedy in this piece. The background of the painting is filled with lush, green foliage, a representation of nature's beauty and abundance. The vibrant green could symbolize hope and renewal, yet it contrasts sharply with the dark thorns and the dead bird, deepening the sense of conflict in the piece. The natural elements also reflect Frida's connection to her Mexican heritage, where nature, spirituality, and identity are deeply intertwined. One of the most striking details is how the thorns pierce Frida's skin, drawing blood from her neck. The blood is not just a physical injury, but a symbol of the emotional wounds she carried. Frida's tumultuous relationship with Diego Rivera and the emotional pain she experienced in her personal life are woven into this visual narrative. The blood, both literal and metaphorical, speaks to the depth of her suffering, yet it also implies a sense of survival and defiance in the face of overwhelming adversity. Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird encapsulates Frida Kahlo's ability to blend pain with beauty, suffering with resilience. Every element in the painting, from the thorns to the hummingbird, from the vibrant flowers to the blood dripping from her neck, invites us to confront the complexity of human existence, the joy and the sorrow, the life and the death. Frida's mastery of symbolism creates a profound emotional connection, making this work an enduring testament to her strength, her pain, and her identity. Diego and I, 1949. Frida Kahlo's Diego and I is one of the most intimate and emotionally charged self-portraits she ever painted. Created in 1949, this haunting masterpiece offers a window into Frida's pain, jealousy, and the unbreakable connection she felt with Diego Rivera. Every brushstroke tells a story. Let's break it down. This painting was created during a turbulent time in Frida's life. Diego Rivera, her husband, was involved in an affair with the famous Mexican actress Maria Felix. While their relationship had always been complicated, this particular betrayal deeply affected Frida, and this self-portrait is a direct reflection of her heartbreak. The first thing we notice is Frida's face. Her expression is solemn, almost lifeless. There are no hands, no body, just her face, which makes her emotions the absolute focus of the composition. Her dark, intense eyes seem to be staring right at us, full of sorrow and resignation. But if we look closely, we can see Diego Rivera painted on her forehead. Why is Diego here? His image appears on Frida's forehead like a third eye, symbolizing how he dominates her thoughts. He is not just present in her mind. He has complete control over it. But look closer. Diego's eyes are wide open, and his expression is calm, almost indifferent. Meanwhile, Frida's tears stream down her face, showing us that while Diego remains unaffected, Frida is drowning in sorrow. And then we have Frida's dark hair, wild, tangled, and twisted. If we pay attention, we can see that her hair wraps around her neck like a noose. This is a powerful symbol of suffocation, of being trapped in a love that is as painful as it is inevitable. The hair, often a symbol of femininity and beauty, here becomes an instrument of pain and imprisonment. Frida was never afraid to express her deepest emotions in her art, and this painting is no exception. The rawness of her sadness, the intensity of her love, and the depth of her suffering are all laid bare. This is not just a self-portrait, it's a psychological confession, a visual diary entry, a declaration of emotional truth. Chapter 4: Legacy of a Rebel. By the late 1940s, Frida was in constant agony, undergoing over 30 surgeries. But she kept painting, because for her, art was survival. To conclude, we turn to Frida Kahlo's last known painting, Viva la Vida, a vibrant and defiant work that resonates with both finality and resilience. Created just a few weeks before her death, this piece is both a celebration of life and an acknowledgement of its inevitable end. In Viva la Vida, Frida paints a large watermelon, which serves as a metaphor for both her life and death. Its flesh is bright and lively, but it's also cut open, symbolizing the fragility and transient nature of existence. The text, Viva la Vida, which translates to long live life, is scrawled across the fruit, expressing Frida's unwavering passion for living despite the pain she endured throughout her life. The vibrant colors, the bold strokes, and the life-affirming message all stand in stark contrast to the suffering she faced. This final piece is not just a testament to her artistic genius, but to her profound strength, offering a powerful reminder that even in the face of immense hardship, Frida celebrated life until the very end. In a way, Viva la Vida encapsulates everything that Frida stood for: defiance, resilience, and an unrelenting pursuit of self-expression. As we close this exploration of her work, we are reminded that Frida's art was not just about self-portraiture or the exploration of pain, but a testament to her incredible spirit that continues to inspire people around the world, even today. Frida Kahlo was once dismissed by the art world, seen only as Diego Rivera's wife. But today, she is an icon, a symbol of strength, feminism, and raw artistic genius. Her paintings weren't just personal, they were political. She embraced her Mexican identity, rejected Western beauty standards, and used art to challenge gender, disability, and colonialism. In 1954, at just 47 years old, Frida passed away. She once said, "I paint myself because I am the subject I know best." And in doing so, she revealed not just herself, but all of us, our pain, our love, our resilience. She wasn't just an artist, she was a revolution. Her death was unfortunately quite painful. She noted in her diary just days before her death that,
Que viva la alegría, la vida. Espero alegre la salida y no volver jamás.
Thanks for watching.